declare themselves as sanctuary cities, where illegals know they're good. Nothing's going to happen to them. America's supposed to be our sanctuary for our children, for your grandchildren, not people that shouldn't be here, that broke into this country. And every state, every city is a sanctuary city or state, no matter where you live, because illegals travel and go wherever they want. So Riverside was not a sanctuary city, but they acted like one, quack like a duck. They are. So where you live, people know where illegals work, where they are, and yet most people look the other way because they don't want to, offend anybody. Offend. It's your family's lives, your future generations. Because if we don't start now, more of us going to be out there talking and burying their children and husbands and wives. Chris has an interesting story about you went to an airport.
Yeah, last year I went to pay a visit to the border with Latinos for Trump group. Myra was there. We were able to see a lot of what was going on between Laredo and McAllen. At the end of the few days we were there, we heard that there was something kind of fishy going on at the airport. It was a bunch of illegals that had been captured, but they were all kind of running around at the airport. I filmed, it's on my Facebook page, I filmed walking through the airport because there was a bunch of illegals that had been captured that he came across and used the I'm claiming asylum excuse. They were skirted past security. They were walking around. They actually had cash in their hands, smiling, kind of flashing it around because there was a charity that had been paying for giving them money, food, and buying airfare for them to go wherever they wanted to go in the U.S. They were carrying manila envelopes that read on the front of them, "Please help me, I don't speak English, help me find my flight," or "Help me find my bus pass." And they were given priority boarding to the flights where they were going. Well, because I travel a lot, I continued to watch and listen and ask questions. Later in the year, I was at Phoenix International, and I knew I was going to see this happening. But there was a question that we couldn't answer, those of us that saw it, which was, how are they getting past security? Turned out that these illegals that were being skirted through that particular day, I took pictures of some of the families that were going through. What they were doing is they were taking the mugshot from their asylum claim, requiring them to return to court. It's the criminal mugshot on a legal document saying that they were required to return to court. They were being allowed to use that as their form of ID to get past security. And the DHS people there that was running everything, they would take the picture, they would call a number and ask if that name on that paper was valid. And if it was valid, they were let through and they went through security and they were escorted to their flight, where there was someone there that was helping them make sure they got boarded onto the flight properly. So I was really enraged with this, and I decided to ask the section chief what the hell was going on. And he told me that this is a practice that's been going on for years. Just last year, because of the severe assault on our border by these people using these caravans and claiming asylum, that it was happening more than usual. Now, you take that and you couple that with, I'm from Texas, I am a combat veteran, and I firmly believe in concealed carry. I will definitely defend my family and my own. If I try going through the airport and using my concealed carry permit, which is like a driver's license in Texas, that's not a valid form of ID to get into the airport. It is not considered good enough. Even though to get a concealed carry ID, you have to go through fingerprinting, background check. It's very severe, but that's not good enough. However, if you've come here illegally and show your mugshot without any form of true vetting to verify that the picture on that paper is real, that's acceptable for someone who's here in the country illegally to travel anywhere in the nation that they want to. And on top of that, while we were there in McAllen, I took pictures of and posted. There were people walking around with brand newly printed passports, of the nation they were from. So the question is, how did they get those passports? You can actually get a replacement passport once you come into the country. Get a replacement passport. So they were here illegally, and someone was helping them get replacement passports. So now they've got a passport. They're in the U.S. illegally, but they're past the security. So essentially, that's a gateway to allowing them to go anywhere they want in the nation.
Yep. And then when, like California, they go get a driver license. So they are Jose Vargas on the driver license. Or Hans Müller from Germany, he's illegal, let's say. I don't want to, upset anybody. So Hans Müller gets a driver license, but he's not Hans Müller. He's Josef Strauss. But you never know, because now with that license, he's going to open up bank account, he's going to vote. So Hans Müller disappeared because he might have killed 50 people in Germany. How are we going to know? We won't know because there's no system. It's just like with visa overstays. There is an exit and entry system, but it's not being used. So my next question to my panel is, what do you guys feel needs to be done on a local and on a federal level, statewide level?
We first need to finish building the wall.
Oh, yeah.
That's very important.
Yes.
Yes.
A little bit taller.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You brought up the entry and exit visa system. We need to go after these people. If they had gone after the woman that came and never left, she wouldn't have had the opportunity to kill Maureen's brother. We need a mandatory federal E-Verify system, and we need to go after employers who knowingly hire illegal aliens, because that's the magnet that draws them here.
Right.
One of the magnets. They want to work to send money back home. They also come here, for the health care and to get their children educated and for government benefits. But if we take away the incentives to come here, we deter them coming here, I think we'd have less border crossers coming in.
Hans?
I'll let you guys finish.
Yeah, I agree with that. In the state of Massachusetts, they're given all kinds of perks. And when Governor Baker and his lieutenant governor were running, my husband asked, what are you going to do to help, with the illegal situation in the state? And she said, we're going to take benefits away from them. Well, guess what? That hasn't happened yet either. But they give them the perks, like Maureen said, and they have the incentive to stay. They just come and they never leave.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't they? I would go anywhere where I get things for free and I don't even have to follow the law. Hey, I'm going there.
And I just have to say one thing. I don't know about the other, people that killed your families, but this lady had no remorse whatsoever.
They usually don't.
Not a speck of remorse. I've never seen anything like it. I mean,
That's a continuing factor with almost every story we hear. The guy who killed my son was asked by the judge if he would say anything to his victim's mother, and the guy stood there with his hands in prayer in Spanish with a translator that my son's taxes and my taxes paid for. And he said, God gives life, God takes life. I was only on my way to work. And they had to pick me off the floor. Chris?
I have two things really, in doing research for, trying to understand how this happened. I see that birthright citizenship is a massive incentive for coming to the country illegally. Because if you come across the border and you give birth to a child, that child is now entitled to all of the benefits of a U.S. citizen. And that child can't claim those benefits, but the parents can on their behalf. Once they become 18, well, now they have the ability to vote and to sponsor their parents who are here illegally to become citizens. And of course, who are they going to vote for? On the state level, state has to work with the federal government just as much as the federal government has to work for the state. My trip to Austin last year showed me some really important things. I was told in attempting to get legislation made to de-incentivize illegals coming to Texas, first thing I was told from a Republican congressman's office was that Governor Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Patrick had made it very clear that they didn't want to see a single piece of legislation with the words illegal and alien in them until after the elections this year. And of course, not a single piece of legislation made it through the Texas Congress at all with the words illegal and alien in them. This problem, the state had, the excuse I was given about stuff like illegals working in Texas, it's a federal crime, but it's not a state crime. So when you have states that say, well, it's not a state crime, so if you got a federal agent that wants to arrest them, okay. Well, that kind of goes right in violation of the supremacy clause. It's a federal crime, then you need to start working with the federal government. And there's a program I would encourage you to look up. It's called the 287G program. Started in 1996 by none other than President Clinton. Look the program up. It needs to be made mandatory. It's called the 287G program. That program allows people to voluntarily become sheriff's departments, to voluntarily apply to be trained and deputized as ICE agents. If they choose, after they've been approved, they get funding, they get training, and they can act on behalf of the ICE itself. But they can also choose to withdraw at any time. Dallas County is not a part of that. Tarrant County, one of the counties that I know of, they were actually voting this year to withdraw from the 287G program, all under the leadership of Governor Greg Abbott.
So this is the brutal reality, and we only touched on so little of it because we could be here for 2 days and talk about things that should be different, that need to change. And one thing I learned being a legal immigrant, it took me 6 years to become a citizen. When I came here with my son's, thank you, proud, my ex-husband, Dominic's dad, was in the military, and I had to sign paperwork that I will never receive any financial aid, that I have to have my own money. I had to sign paperwork. I had to carry a resident alien card. And it was no issue because I didn't earn the citizenship. I didn't earn anything yet. I had to prove myself. So 6 years later, I became a citizen. I still have my little flag. And this is a welcoming country. And I appreciate it even more so. And every one of you, if you're in a buffet line and you hear about the best food at the end of the buffet when you can go in and just take over, and you and your family stand in line, and you wait for 3 hours, 2 hours, and you finally get to the front line, and here comes a family of 5 getting in front of you, and now all the food is gone. That's how I look at illegal immigration. To me, they line jumpers, and like I said, I don't care where they come from, what age they are. There's a way to do things. We have to abide by the laws. Why shouldn't they? I'm going to step out of this, what we should and shouldn't do, and since we're here at AMPFEST, the president was mentioned. I was a Democrat because my ex was a Democrat. I didn't care much about it, Nobody talked to us. The media didn't, nobody. People would turn away from family, friends. We all lost family and friends. Because Donald Trump was the first one and the only one that talked about illegal immigration. Yes. And that day, when he came down the escalator, I had plans to take my life because my only child, my best friend, was no longer around, and I didn't know how to deal with it any longer. And when Donald Trump said illegal immigration, I broke down, and I knew it was a sign. I just didn't know how far, where I would end up, but, he was the only one touching that subject. My fiance, now my husband and I, we ran and registered Republican because we heard Hillary saying, what she's going to do for illegals and refugees. Donald Trump gave our children and all these thousands of other people a voice. He made sure they will never be forgotten. He welcomed us to the White House, to the RNC, to the Rose Garden, to the inauguration. And he continues to talk about us, but sadly the left try to ignore this whole issue of illegal immigration because they start calling them new Americans, undocumented immigrants, or just immigrants. Even the newspaper, the fake news, you don't see illegal alien or undocumented. You see Miami man. That's code word for illegal, because they won't mention it. And to give you a little glimpse into our life, what changed for you on that day? How has it impacted your life?
Well, everything changed. My world shattered. I do have another son. My two sons were very close. They were going to be each other's best man. My older son now refers to himself as an only child. It just devastated my world. There's no other way to describe it. It's also given me a strength because I don't want my son's death to be in vain. And Sabina had mentioned President Trump. First time I met President Trump was when he was campaigning in 2015. And when I told him the story about Matthew and looked in his eyes, I saw the pain of a father imagining what it would be like to lose a child. So I'm very grateful to President Trump for giving us a voice.
Potts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, Richard was the fourth. There were 6 kids in our family, 4 girls and 2 boys. And we had a brother, Vinny. They were 11 months apart. They were very close. But when Vinny was 16, he was in a car accident and he had severe brain damage. And as he got older, he got worse. But Richard used to take care of him. He'd go to the nursing home. He'd take him out. He'd take him out for lunch, play cards with him. And after Richard died, Vinny was devastated, and he died of a broken heart.
Chris, what changed for you?
Okay.
I just lost my wife of 13 years. I made a promise to her. She asked me to promise her that I would take care of our daughter. And 15 months later, I buried my daughter. I felt like I failed that promise. President Trump coming down the escalator and saying he was running for office, and his point touching on illegal immigration, it gave me hope that there could be justice for my daughter. And having served 12 years in the military, 5 deployments overseas, I have learned not to take things sitting down. I fight. I don't want anybody to be violent. I hate fighting, but I damn sure will fight for myself and what I believe in. And that has put me in a position where I will fight. I will fight to my last damn breath. If I have to spend the next 30 years fighting, trying to get the guy who killed my daughter, who is walking free, living in Rockwall right now, a fugitive from immigration, walking free, if I have to spend the next 30 years making his life utterly miserable until he is arrested and either deported or charged federally for killing my daughter, I will do every damn day I have to make sure that it happens.
So, as you can see, the pain is the same. We miss him 24/7, 365 days. There are days we can't even think straight, and we're under the covers in a dark room. But we're making a little bit of headways. I call it planting seeds. And something will come from it. And I got a call beginning of the year. It was a filmmaker from Los Angeles. She wanted to do a documentary about illegal immigration. And I was like, yeah, right. Because she told me, well, there's a story about a military veteran who fought in Afghanistan, a illegal woman living in Los Angeles, and I was almost out of it. I said, no, I can't. Well, Namrata Singh Gujral, she's like me, very hard-headed, and she kept calling me and telling me she has a vision and Dominic belongs in there. And she's a Democrat, liberal Democrat in Hollywood, making a movie about illegal immigration and the cost of it. And it took a couple of months, and it's called America's Forgotten. You can look it up. It'll come out on the 16th. You find it on Prime Video and so forth. They will show you where to get it. americasforgottenmovie.com. And we finished it. It's a tapestry of 5 lives that all had to deal with illegal immigration. And we brought a clip that you can see. And I had to trust her, and when I watched the finished product, I was on the floor bawling, and I said I could not believe what she did with those stories to make me even feel sorry for this one woman who's now living in America and can't do nothing. So with that, enjoy the clip.
The public would be outraged if they knew the truth.
Why do you think our politicians are not on the sidewalk right now talking to you?
Don't have no respect.
The old wall randomly turns into a guardrail, followed by miles of open border.
Human trafficking.
That journey is extremely dangerous.
The 7-year-old girl died in the desert.
From the country of India.
A great pillar of the community was killed by a man who had been deported at least twice.
This little urn contains the ashes of my son. His dreams cut short forever.
We're not qualified for assistance. We're in the wrong zip code, we're in the wrong county. It's just excuse after excuse.
I'm living in the chat. I can go to the police.
Gurpreet's family is from Punjab, and so begins my search for this little girl's legacy.
I registered as a Democrat when I was 18. I still consider myself a liberal.
Raise your hand if your plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
We have sacrificed our lives. We have sacrificed our blood. We have sacrificed our families.
We're so worried about other countries' problems, and we don't even focus on our own.
What is your message for our politicians in the 2020 election?
Get their head out their bottoms.
I really implore you to share this with people on the left, with whoever you know who thinks, oh, we got to be kind. They just come for a better life. Well, we want a better life for our children. We can take care of the whole world. Please watch this movie, and please approach us. Come talk to us. We have websites to share with you where you can look all this up. We're not just talking, you know, out of the left side of our mouth. And there's really, there's data, there is truth, there are facts. Come talk to us. AVIAC is a 501c3, so if you have any spare change, you know, donation always help. You can write it off. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts, because this is a hard topic, like I said. And even though the lights are bright, I see some teary eyes. And when you listen to this, you think of your own families. And I want to leave you with something my son left me with. He was my best friend, my partner in crime. We weren't ever really apart too long. He lived life without regrets. He made 30 years count to the fullest and lived a life that some people don't do in 100 years. All of our loved ones left a mark on this world. Make sure you do that. Vote for this president, because otherwise we are done. We can't let the left come in and make everybody a citizen. So with that, thank you so much, and we'll be available for questions.